Hey there, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm doing my first Q&A. It's been like a month since I originally put my Q&A box out on my Instagram account and asked for people's questions so that I could record this. I'm a little behind, but I'm finally getting around to it. So I'm going to go ahead and answer all of my most commonly asked questions and some that people have specifically asked when I put that poll out asking for questions. So I have them written on my phone. If you see me looking over, that's what I'm doing. I'm just reading off the list. And without further ado, we're going to jump right into it. If you enjoyed today's video, please remember to like and subscribe. Drop me a comment down below if there's anything else you'd like me to answer in future videos. All right, let's get into it. All right, my first question is, how old are you? And that's also combined with a commonly asked question of, how old were you when you got your CDL? So I'm going to answer both of those in one. I am currently 24 years old. I got my CDL originally at 16. I got my Class B at 16, and then I got my Class A at the age of 17. So I did start into the industry very young. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to drive a truck when I went and got my CDL. It was just a great opportunity that was offered to me, and I went for it, and I fell in love with it, and I've been chasing it ever since. Okay, next question. How did you get into truck driving? Okay, I recently did a video kind of telling this whole story, so I'll link that here if you want to go check it out. But like I mentioned just a moment ago, it all started out with having the opportunity to go to a technical center in high school and choosing a couple of options of classes that I wanted to take. Now, at that point, I was 16 years old. I didn't really know for sure what direction I wanted to go with my life, but I knew that CDLs were extremely useful, and I had a lot of family members that had them and used them and had driven in the past, and some that drove currently. So it was something that I just felt would be a good thing for me to have. And I wasn't really sure if it was something that I wanted to use, but it was just a good asset to have at the time. And then once I got started in the class, it didn't take me very long at all to just absolutely fall in love with it. Once I started driving, I knew that that was what I wanted to do. So, yeah, if you want more in depth, I will link that video telling my whole story here. Next is, was it hard getting your Hazmat endorsement? Now, when endorsements are involved, a lot of people will say Hazmat is one of the hardest endorsements to get. It is a very in-depth test. You also have to get some fingerprints done, and I think that involves like a background check with your fingerprints, that kind of thing. That's not hard to do. It's just you have to go through that hassle as well. And then the Hazmat test is very in-depth. It's definitely one of the hardest tests I've ever taken. It's doable, but you have to really study and you have to really put the effort into wanting that endorsement, because you have to be able to answer questions on any and all possible hazmat, like hazardous materials rather, no matter what you plan on hauling. You know, I got my hazmat with the intention of hauling fuel, and it's unlikely that I will use it for anything else in the future, but because it gives me the ability to haul any hazardous material, I have to be fluent in understanding how to properly handle any and all hazardous material. So it is a very in-depth test. It does take a lot of studying. The great thing nowadays is that technology is wonderful, and you can go online and you can do practice tests, mock tests basically, to test your knowledge and see how much you understand of the content you've been studying. There's even an app that I got, and I don't know the name of it, but I'll see if I can find it, and if so, I'll link it down below in the description. But I had an app that I downloaded that was free right onto my phone that did practice questions, and I think it even had like a flashcard thing. It helped me study no matter where I was or what I was doing. So even on my lunch break at work while I was studying to get this Hazmat endorsement, I could pull that up and just do a practice test for 10 minutes on my lunch break or whatever, and it was super, super helpful. So there's a lot of helpful things out there nowadays with technology and the internet and everything being right at our fingertips that way. So it is a difficult test, but it's doable. If it's something you want, strive towards it, study your butt off, and you can do it. I promise. Okay, let's see. What is your favorite thing about your job? Okay, I think probably the favorite thing about my job is having my own space and my own freedom that way. I love having the freedom of being in my truck, being out on the road, getting to see a different view every day. Granted, I do a lot of the same places, but not every day. You know, I don't have the same route every day. So I'm just out enjoying that, and I get my cab to myself. I interact with people constantly throughout the day at my different deliveries, but I get my time to myself as well, and I can jam whatever music I want to on that radio, or I can plug in an audiobook or listen to a podcast, and that is just super valuable to me. Excuse me. I love that aspect of my job. I think that would probably be the number one thing for me, but I also like the industry that I'm in particularly. I like delivering fuel specifically because I'm not in the truck all day long. I'm loading and unloading and making deliveries, and so I'm getting that physical activity in, I'm getting that heart rate up, I'm doing some manual labor, and then I'm getting back in the truck and driving for another stint. I like having that because I'm a very active person. I like to be active, I like to be moving, and although I like the independence of driving, I wouldn't like a job where I'm stuck in that cab all day long as much, I don't think. I like having deliveries that I make myself and loading and unloading the truck myself and having that movement and that manual labor. That's a personal choice. Not everybody is looking for that, but that is one thing that I really enjoy about my job. Okay, what's next? What do you do for fun outside of work? I do a lot of fun things outside of work. I am big into health and fitness. I'm big into weightlifting. I spend a lot of the time in the gym. I love being active that way. I'm also big into healthy eating and nutrition. I'm currently actually studying nutrition courses. I am certified as a nutritionist. It's not something I use a lot right now, but I do have that certification. It's something that I enjoy a lot. So I spend a lot of my free time cooking, baking, experimenting with food, that sort of thing. And then weightlifting in the gym, exercising that way. I love that. And then I am also a big outdoor enthusiast. Like, I love to be outdoors, mostly in the summer, I'm not gonna lie. I do not get out and do as much in the winter, especially up here in the north where it gets very cold. But I love to be out ATVing. I love to be out kayaking, hiking, camping. I spend as much time as humanly possible outside in the summer. So I guess those would be like my three main hobbies, is just adventures such as ATVing, hiking, camping, weightlifting, and cooking, healthy food, that sort of thing. Okay, I think that answers that. What would you say to someone considering getting their CDL? If you're interested in getting your CDL, if it's something that you truly have the passion for, that desire for, chase that dream. I promise you it will work out well in the end. It can be very difficult at times when you're in the midst of chasing it, especially if you're young like I was when you get into it. There's a lot of struggles there. It took me 3 full years from the time that I got my Class A CDL to the time that I got my first CDL job. And I probably applied at 40 or 50 different places in those 3 years. It took consistency and not giving up and not being discouraged by no after no after no. Because when you are young and you're inexperienced, it takes time and it takes effort. And honestly, right now, it would probably be easier than it was then because there is more demand for drivers. So if you're looking to get into the industry, it's a great time to get in on that, because a lot of companies are hiring younger than they normally would, or with less experience than they normally would, and giving these younger people, they're being given an opportunity that wasn't as easy to get 5 years or definitely 10 years ago when there was more drivers out there. Aside from that, I would just say be a good listener, be a good learner. This is a job that you need to know what you're doing getting into it, and you need to be willing to learn from somebody that has more experience. You need to have that open attitude about it, and the worst thing you can do in something like this is to walk in with an inflated ego and I already know everything kind of attitude. As long as you're willing to learn and you're willing to listen to the people around you that have the experience, that know more than you do on the subject, you're gonna go far, because the majority of people, when you have that attitude, are willing to teach you and are willing to help you along the way. And I've had so many people that have given me so much help along the way, because I had that attitude of, I want to be good at this, but I'm not there yet, and I'm willing to learn and listen and gain every bit of information that I can from people. So that I think would pretty much wrap up my advice on that, I guess. That was a bit rambly, but hopefully that kind of answered that question. Okay. What are some of the biggest challenges you face as a female in the truck driving industry? I would say I'm lucky that my challenges as a female are not what they used to be for some of the females that went before me. And I am forever grateful for the women that really paved the way into some of these industries, because it is not what it used to be. Although it is still a very male-dominated industry, it has not been a massive struggle for me to get into. Now, you're going to have hiccups. You're going to have people that are going to treat you differently. You're going to have coworkers that might treat you differently, companies that might not choose you first. That does happen. It's still out there. But the opportunities are much more open than they used to be. And I got very lucky in the company that I'm currently with. They are fantastic to work with. They do not treat me any differently for being a female. And I have a fantastic crew of men that I work with, which can be one of the biggest struggles as a female, because there are certain jobs that even the company might be decent to work for, but the crew of men that you are with could treat you poorly, could talk down to you. There is a lot of that in the industry still, and it's kind of a luck of the draw kind of thing. You have to kind of feel out how a company treats their employees and how they might treat you, and interact with some of your potential potential coworkers rather, try to feel them out a little bit, see how it seems, because I've definitely had terrible interactions at times, and I've had really great interactions at other times. So like I said, I'm so happy to be where I am now, because I have fantastic interactions, I have great coworkers, I have great employers, and I don't deal with any real mistreatment or anything such as that due to being a female. You do deal with interesting interactions in public, though. I don't know if or when that will ever completely cease. I definitely have a lot of people that look at me funny or talk to me differently in public when they see me as a girl doing what I'm doing. And some of them are great interactions. I have a lot of great interactions where people will come up and be like, wow, I think that's awesome. I don't see females doing this a lot, and that's fantastic. I wish there was more of that. And then you'll have people that will be like, wow, I can't believe that you're out doing this. Why would you want to do this? Or, insulting you in weird ways. Or unfortunately, you will deal with some objectification. I have had a couple of instances where, I've had somebody talk down to me or talk inappropriately to me. I had one incident a year or two ago where another truck driver actually came over the CB and was talking very crudely to me when he saw me in my truck being a female. And those moments can be difficult and discouraging and infuriating. But it is getting better, and it's one of those things that as long as you're prepared for it and you're willing to stand up for yourself, you're going to be okay. And I think that pretty much answers that. I think we have one more question here. Let me see. What would you give for advice to a new trucker? Okay, I kind of answered that already when I talked about people that are considering getting into the industry. But if you're just starting out, like I said before, be choosy about the companies you work for, and make sure that they treat their employees well. Make sure that they take good care of their trucks. Ask around. People know. Ask other truck drivers. If there's a company that's not treating their drivers well, that's not maintaining their trucks well, other drivers will know. So don't jump on the first opportunity that's offered to you without doing your research, because, there's a lot of great companies out there to work for, and there are some companies that are not great to work for, and you don't want to get into one of those right off the bat and have any damage done to your ability in the future. You don't want to deal with poorly maintained trucks and risking having any issues that way. You don't want to deal with disrespectful employers that don't treat you well, that kind of thing. Like, it's not as bad as it used to be, I don't think, from what I've heard, but there are still some companies out there that are just not ideal. So there is a huge need for truck drivers right now, and there are a lot of companies looking to hire. It's not as difficult as it once was, so I would highly recommend that you do your research on any and all companies that you're applying for, and that you ask around, try to bump into their drivers' if you see them somewhere and ask them what it's like to work for them. Ask other truck drivers on the internet that you might be able to interact with on socials, you know. See what you can learn about these companies prior to applying or potentially getting hired, and try to choose companies that are going to fit with you and your personality and your goals and your desires the best. I think that would be my biggest advice there. Don't settle. Do your research and get into a company that's going to make you as happy doing what you do as I am doing what I do. I think that was all the questions I had for this. So that's good. We didn't run too long. I hope these were helpful for you. I hope you learned something. If you did, let me know. If you have any other questions that you think I missed that you'd love to hear me answer, drop them in the comments below. And without further ado, I think we're going to wrap it right up there. Thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop a like for me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.